Hey guys, I want to talk to you today about something that's been coming up a lot in my community, and I think I need to finally address it in a video because I'm just getting so many emails and questions about it. Just can't do the answer justice typing furiously back to you. So this is about being hopeful and whether you should be hopeful or hesitant, and if you should be hopeful, how do you even be hopeful when you've had so many knocks or whether you've had so many disappointments already. So I really just want to share why I think you should be hopeful, how I got to that place, and then a few tips for how to really come back to that place of hope when you're not feeling it anymore. So first of all, whether you should be hopeful or hesitant. I remember being in this place myself so clearly. So after our first loss, I went into my next two pregnancies very, very hesitant. I was so burned by that first hurt that I was afraid to imagine those babies in my arms. And in many ways, those pregnancies didn't feel entirely real because I was holding myself back. I didn't want to have my heart broken again. So I would tell people, I'm pregnant, but we'll see. And I allowed myself to feel that, like that almost devastation before it happened. I would rehearse in my head losing that baby. I would feel what it would feel like. Before I even lost those babies, I had practiced that in my head in this vain attempt to not get so hurt because I was expecting it. And it wasn't until we lost our third and I'd taken some time to heal from those losses and to really unpack my anxiety and my thoughts and all of that around it that I realized that what I was doing was not actually helping. I wasn't helping myself in any way by holding back. I didn't feel any less devastated losing those next two babies than I did losing that first baby just because I had predicted it in my mind in advance. It's like this foreboding joy that Brené Brown talks about. You can't practice it in your head in any way that will prevent it still feeling shit when it happens. It will still be the most painful experience that you've been through. So eventually I came to a place where I decided that I didn't want to steal from myself those weeks, potentially months, of being pregnant. I didn't want to steal the joy of those pregnancies from myself by thinking that the worst was going to happen. So when we did eventually go into trying again, even going into the trying process, I didn't want to put myself into, this time won't be successful. This time it won't happen. Why put yourself through those negative feelings before you have to feel them? Like, wait until your period arrives or wait until it happens rather than practicing those negative emotions. And I honestly believe your body is better and happier and healthy when you flood it with good, excited, positive feelings than if you flood it with that negativity, that stress, that anxiety. It can't be healthy and good for our bodies. So eventually, like I said, I came to the place where I realized that the great love of a baby, this amazing experience of having your own baby, was worth risking having my heart broken again. And that was the only way I could come to a place where I was ready to try again, where I was ready to risk having my heart broken again. But I also decided if I was ready to risk having my heart broken again, then I was going all in. I was going to open myself up to the excitement of every cycle trying. I was going to open myself up to a baby as soon as I fell pregnant, that I was going to imagine a baby in my arms, and that whilst yes, it may have ended in heartbreak, it was not going to be any less painful if I didn't connect with the baby or if I allowed myself to experience all the good feelings. It was still going to be shit at the end. So I decided it was worth having the good bits even if it ended in the bad bit. Because either way, if it was going to end badly, it was going to end badly. I didn't want to steal the good bits from myself by trying to preempt the heartbreak. I hope that makes sense to you in some way. So then the question was, if I wanted to focus on staying hopeful and excited, how did I do that when I'd already had 3 losses, when I already had proof that this could happen to me again? So like I said, a really important step for me was taking a break from trying to conceive. It became all too much. I became obsessed. I'd lost my perspective and I was lost in an anxiety spiral. A break for me allowed me to take some time, do a lot of healing work, a lot of counseling, a lot of breath work, a lot of yoga, a lot of meditation, and give myself some perspective. I have another video on how to know if you need to take a break, so if you want to go and watch that one, I'll leave it linked below. But that really was an important step for me to come back to hope. I needed to give myself a break from all of it before I could come back to that positive place. The second thing that I found really helpful is I stopped focusing on everything I didn't have, and I focused on what I did have, which essentially is a gratitude practice you may have heard many times before. But let's look at it a little bit more practically. I focused on living my happy life. You've probably heard me speak about my happy list before. And I think this is so important when we're trying to conceive. It becomes all-consuming. We become tunnel vision when we're trying to create a baby. Obviously, because a baby changes your entire life, so you're trying to plan for that. But you need to keep living your happy life. You need to keep taking those holidays, going for that job promotion, changing your house, starting renovations, doing all the things you would normally do if a baby wasn't even on the cards. Because before we start trying, we do all these fun, happy things. We plan those social outings. We have a glass of wine with our friend. You need to keep doing that so you can stay focused on, I still have a great life. I still have all these great things, rather than shutting down all of these things and just becoming tunnel vision on the baby. So make sure you keep living your happy life. Keep focusing on all those good things you have. Like I said, I wrote a happy list. It was literally a list to remind me. When I was in my darkest places, I needed a list. Eventually, as I crawled my way out, I didn't need the list anymore. It just became habit. But if you are in a really negative place where you just feel like you're ready to give up, then maybe you need a list. Put it on your fridge where you'll see it every day. Try to do something every day off the list. The third thing that really helped me was visualization. Again, I've spoken about visualization before. There's another video, I'll leave it linked below. But every morning I would get up and I would allow myself to visualize that baby. And this was a part of trusting that it would happen and letting go of the when, in that letting myself visualize that positive future that I wanted and letting myself feel all those good feelings that went along with it. Which is not to say it wasn't hard. Some mornings it was really hard. That negative voice in my head would be like, that's not going to happen. You're going to lose the next baby. And I would have that mental argument with myself. And on those days when it was really hard, I had a script written out in my journal that described in great detail a day in my life that spoke about that future that I wanted and spoke about that baby. And on those days, I could just turn off that negative voice and just read. And that helped me to still be able to imagine it in some way and still feel those feelings in some way when that negative voice got too loud. So I don't want you to think I was so hopeful and positive all the time. I wasn't. I still was anxious. I still had to fight those negative feelings, but I had created practices to be able to stay focused on the positive and on the hopeful. So a script was one of those things. If you'd like to know more about scripting, by the way, let me know in the comments. That could probably be another video. I haven't talked about that too much, so let me know. And then finally, the last thing that really helped was when I started looking a lot more into cycle awareness and living by my cycle, rather than just like pushing full steam ahead every day, the same day after day, was I realized how much my hormones were impacting my mood. And therefore, in seeing how much my hormones were impacting my mood, I was able to give myself a big old break when I didn't feel hopeful. So stop expecting yourself to feel hopeful for the entire cycle. So you may have noticed this already. I know a lot of my fertility clients talk about this, that when they have their period, they just feel like, bleh, like what's the point? Why bother? And that's your hormones. That's very normal. You have the lowest level of hormones when you have your period. You feel low energy. You just feel like, it's never going to happen. You've also had the disappointment of a previous cycle not working. It's very normal. And then you often feel more positive in that 2-week wait up to ovulation and during ovulation. This is when our hormones are increasing. It's very normal to feel more hopeful, and it's easier to tap into those hopeful feelings at that time. And then as you enter the 2-week wait, as your progesterone is rising, it's been shown that if you are feeling stressed, so if you have cortisol in your body, progesterone helps to create cortisol. So if you already have a lot of cortisol in the body, it's going to make that a lot worse. So those feelings of stress and anxiety that we feel during that 2-week wait are not just something you create. It's something that's already happening in your body. And the thing is, when you start to realize, this is what happens naturally in my body, you can channel it into something more positive rather than just picking yourself apart for not being who you think you should be able to be, you can realize that, oh, that's a natural part of my cycle, and I am going to feel more negative towards myself and towards other people, and maybe I can channel that energy into detailed work of some sort of work that you're doing. And I found that really helpful when I stopped expecting myself to feel positive and hopeful all the time and allowed myself to be human and a woman and feel all the different range of emotions. I felt better overall, because if you're denying your feelings of sadness or disappointment or anger or feeling bad about yourself for not feeling hopeful, you're never going to get to that hopeful place. But I think if you can be kinder to yourself and know that this is your cycle, it's your hormones, it's understandable, find some people you can connect with, I think you're going to find this journey is a lot less lonely, and you'll just be able to enjoy yourself a lot more along the way and come back to that really hopeful place. So that was a lot, I know. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thank you again for being here. I really hope that this video helped in some way, even if it was just one very small little piece of information that you take away, then I think it's worth it. If you would like to join me for any yoga or meditation practices, I'll leave some fertility links below that you can go and check out. Thanks again for being here, and namaste.